King Charles has arrived in the United States to meet President Donald Trump to mark the 250th anniversary of American independence. But this isn't just ceremonial, it comes at a moment of real tension for the so-called special relationship between Washington and London. As the US-Israel war with Iran continues, Trump has criticised the UK Prime Minister for his position on the conflict.
Keir is not Winston Churchill.
Keir Starmer, for his part, has said,
"I'm not going to yield."
While Trump has said the King's visit could absolutely help repair relations with the UK, some critics aren't so sure. So what's going on here? To understand this, we need to go back to Trump's heritage. Sarah, where does this all begin?
Well, I think we can trace Trump's love, certainly of the UK and particularly Scotland, to his mother.
My mother loved Scotland.
She was Mary Ann MacLeod Trump. She was born and raised in Lewis in the Western Isles. She was a Gaelic speaker. She moved to the United States when she was 18, so a long time ago, but she returned often, and she clearly felt a really strong connection to the UK, to Scotland, and along with many people of that wartime generation, she also had huge respect and affection for Queen Elizabeth, and she passed that on to her son. He wrote about it in his book, The Art of the Deal. I still remember my mother, who's Scottish by birth, sitting in front of the television set to watch Queen Elizabeth's coronation and not budging for an entire day. She was just enthralled by the pomp and circumstance, the whole idea of royalty and glamour. And so it would appear is President Trump. In 2018, he and Melania travelled to Windsor Castle to have tea with the Queen, and he said afterwards that his mother would have been so proud. It was a really short meeting, lasted less than an hour, but he said they got on fantastically well. And then in June 2019, so the following year, Trump was then invited back to the UK for a full state visit. Now, of course, the late Queen was famously tight-lipped about most things, and she never publicly confirmed her views on Mr. Trump. But his admiration for her is without question. When she died in 2022, he posted about how he and Melania would always cherish their time together. What a grand and beautiful lady she was, he wrote. There was nobody like her.
He's a nice guy. King Charles.
Trump is just a couple of years older than King Charles, and despite being what most people would say is really quite different, they do seem to get on, and it's a connection which has been incredibly useful to UK PLC.
This is really special. This has never happened before. This is unprecedented.
Just think back to that moment last year in the Oval Office when the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, brought out that invitation with a flourish from the King, signed by the King, for that 2025 state visit. Trump was clearly delighted. So September 2025, the President and Melania, they were met by the Prince and Princess of Wales. Again, that pomp, that pageantry were on max, and Trump again clearly enjoyed it, returning the compliment, saying it was truly one of the highest honours of his life.
As the UK's head of state, the King has to remain politically neutral, and his powers are mostly symbolic and ceremonial. But there's no denying the politics of this trip, so what exactly is the King walking into? Well, someone who might have a good idea about that is BBC North America editor Sarah Smith.
Sarah Smith rang the President on his mobile.
The first thing I asked him was whether the King's visit to Washington next week can help repair the currently difficult relationship with the United Kingdom. Mr. Trump said, absolutely, the answer is yes. He's a great man, a brave man, and he and the Queen will absolutely be a positive.
But will the King's trip actually help the special relationship?
Well, I think there is the possibility that the King's visit could help smooth things over, that he can bring a royal touch to this relationship that might make it better. But of course, it does mean it could also be extremely awkward for the President to be welcoming the King of the United Kingdom at a point when he's falling out with that country. What people will be hoping is that because the King is one step removed from politics, and because President Trump knows that King Charles can't tell his government what to do, can't persuade Keir Starmer to get involved in the Iran war, and in fact he can't even really comment on the politics around that, that this visit will be about something other than that politics, and that maybe some of the regal glitz and glamour that the King and Queen will bring with them might mollify Donald Trump a bit, because it is clear that he's quite captivated by the British royal family. So that's certainly what the British government will be hoping, that a little bit of royal magic might just smooth things over a bit.
The United States, like Canada, went all out with the warmth of its reception.
But it's not the first time Britain's done this. The initial visit from the late Queen Elizabeth to the United States in 1957, the first time she came here, President Eisenhower was in the White House. And relations between the UK and the US were really bad then. That was just at the end of the Suez Crisis. America had threatened to try and bankrupt Britain at that point. But the Queen came, dripping in diamonds and tiaras and furs, absolutely charmed the President and the people of America, it has to be said. And that really went a long way to improving relations between the countries. And we can remember other visits that were particularly memorable. It was when Ronald Reagan was in office in the White House that Prince Charles and Princess Diana came on a visit, and when they threw an event at the White House, Princess Diana ended up dancing with John Travolta very memorably as President Reagan was smiling and encouraging them, in fact, to do so. It was a moment that visually sticks with all of us, but diplomatically was quite important as well, because it's really only Britain that can bring these glamorous royals to America, and so it's a special trick that the British government can pull out when relations are quite difficult.
It's also not the first time that the special relationships face difficulties, is it?
Look, there's ups and downs in any relationship, isn't there? And what's known as the special relationship between the United Kingdom and the United States, it has its moments as well. And there are times when prime ministers and presidents get on particularly well, and they're seen to be working very, very closely together. But there have been plenty of occasions when there have been falling outs, whether it's about international affairs or something else. They're not always on the same track, the two countries. They're not always looking for the same things on the global stage. But the relationship perseveres because it's about more than the president who's in the White House at the time or the prime minister who's in number 10 at the time. It's a lasting relationship that goes back centuries, and for decades there have been visits from prime ministers and the royal family to America and the other way around as well. And the relationship will persist, but that doesn't mean it's not diplomatically difficult in any moment when the nations are not getting along particularly well. And that's definitely the case at the moment, as Donald Trump seems so incredibly disappointed in Keir Starmer.
The special relationship is not unaccustomed to moments of tension, and while the British royal family has helped to smooth relations in the past, will King Charles be able to do the same this time?